Hi guys, it's Shauna. Today on Sewing with Shwin, we're going to be doing hack number 2 in our t-shirt pattern hacking series. In case you've missed the first one, be sure to check out our previous video for making a basic t-shirt and pattern hack number 1, where we added a flutter sleeve. Today we are going to be learning all about slashing and spreading a pattern to add fullness where we want it. All you're going to need to get started is a t-shirt pattern. I highly suggest one with a long sleeve since that's what we're going to be using today, but this method can be done on any style. And you will need a ruler, tape, a pencil, and some kind of tracing paper to retrace your pattern on. Okay, so let's get started.
Okay, so to get started, I have a long sleeve here. I'm using the Hello T pattern as my base, as I have been for most of my t-shirt hacks. And I am just marking halfway between the end of the sleeve and the underarm, which is that little curve out at the top of the sleeve there. And that is because that is where I want my sleeve to start flaring out. I want it to be fitted up at the top and then from about the elbow down to start to flare out. And now I am just marking 1-inch segments all the way across the bottom of the sleeve because that is where I'm going to cut or slash my pattern and then start spreading it out. You can do less lines or more lines. I mean, it's all kind of up to you. We're just changing the shape of the pattern without altering the integrity of the pattern, if you want to say. I don't know. It's a weird way to describe it. You can tell I'm a real pro here. So right now I'm just slashing up all of those lines, and then I am going to go in and number all of my lines so that when I cut them apart, I can put them back in the proper order. You don't want to mess up the order of your sleeve here. So now I'm just going to cut all of these strips off of my sleeve. And now I'm grabbing a piece of additional tracing paper here. And I'm putting my sleeve up at the top because I don't need to use this whole piece of paper and I'll be able to save some of it. So I'm taping it down to the top of this. And then with my first piece, the piece that's labeled number 1, I am just deciding how much I want that sleeve to flare out. So for me, you can see it's flared out fairly significantly, but you could flare this out more or less. It's totally up to you. And then I'm going to take the last piece and following the amount of inches away that I flared out, I'm going to flare out on the other side too so that they kind of mirror each other at this point. And the only thing that's important to keep in mind here is that the top of where I'm flaring out meets the bottom of the sleeve. So it's just kind of like taking that piece and rotating it out. I'm not just floating it out into the great abyss for no reason at all. And now is where you start playing with all of your other pieces. And if I was smart, I would have just used weights to kind of weigh them down. I taped them down and I end up kind of ripping them up and moving them a little bit. And you're just kind of adjusting all these pieces so that they fit within. And I make sure that the top line here of where all of my pattern pieces that were cut, that they all touch so that really what I did with my sleeve pattern, even though I cut it all up and I spread it all out, it's not just madness. You are still connecting that old original pattern. You're just spreading it so that there's more shape or room in certain parts of it. So like you can see here, this line up at the top here, it's all connecting. It's just connecting lower and in a curve away from the original line. And what that's doing is that's adding width and space along the bottom of my sleeve. So my sleeve is now getting wider and it's flaring out. And I'm really hoping that this concept makes sense. I also did measure a little bit in between here, but not all of the pieces have the same amount in between because they couldn't. So it just all kind of flares nicely. I'm symmetrical on both sides. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna redraw the hemline of the sleeve. And to do this, I use my curved ruler. Goodness, I can speak. Okay, and I'm reconnecting all of the dots so that it touches the bottom of those new lines. And then the other thing you're gonna need to do is just kind of smooth out this curve line so it's not so severe from where the old pattern or original pattern and the new flared pattern meet. So it just kind of fills in that gap there a little bit. And then you're going to cut out your new sleeve pattern piece. And that's really all there is to it with this slashing and spreading. It's really easy. You kind of just make up the shape as you go, as long as your pattern still connects. Okay, so we now have all of our pieces cut out. And yes, mine is a wrinkly mess, but I promise I do press it. Just my pieces were cut out and then sat for quite some time in a crumpled up ball. It happens. Okay, so the one thing I am not going to be doing in great detail here, besides kind of showing all of the steps here in a pretty quick motion, is I'm not talking a lot about how this pattern all goes together, because nothing has really changed between this and how a regular t-shirt is sewn together. So if you want more in depth or step-by-step processes on how a t-shirt is sewn together, you can check out one of my other videos where I do talk more about that. But at this point, I didn't want to bore anybody who's been through this time and time again. So we're sewing a t-shirt together, guys. Front and back bodice, sleeves, etc. You can see how the sleeve is flared out here, but you're still sewing it the same way, right along that seam line. Nothing's changed, just the shape. And then we're going to hem the bottom. We do also hem the sleeves, even though you will notice that in all of my steps here of the video, my sleeves remain unhemmed, and that's because I was waiting for my daughter to try it on. The only other thing I did here is I did add a graphic using iron-on vinyl. I liked what it did to the sweatshirt that was otherwise a little plain for me.
Okay guys, just like that, we're done. Hack number 2 finished. I hope you picked up a new skill here, because slashing and spreading a pattern is a great method to add volume to any pattern that you have. So I hope you will continue to practice this and show what you make in my Facebook group. I'd love to see it, okay? Until next time, we'll see ya. Bye.